What is up, Chargers? This is the Livewire Podcast. I'm AP. I'm here with my co-host,
Jacob Vanderose. What's up, guys?
and today this is the first time that we're having a coach on. If you want to introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Coach Rose. I'm head coach of the Marysville Getchell wrestling team, and I'm also an assistant coach for the football team.
Nice.
Thanks.
How long have you been coaching wrestling for?
Coaching wrestling for I've been in and out of it. Even since I was a wrestler, I was a volunteer coach at Totem, because that's where I was from, and that's where it taught me wrestling. So I really wanted to give back in the sport, even when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I kind of helped those guys out, and then I also moved to Idaho, and I was an assistant coach for the freestyle team at Homedale Wrestling Club, just a small little ho-dunk town in Idaho.
Yeah.
And then when I got sent over here, I picked up the job in 21. So I was the coach of the 21-22 season, and we've been building ever since. And I'm going into year 6 next year.
Jeez.
Wow. How long have you been wrestling for?
I've been wrestling for roughly about 16 years. I started when I was in 6th grade, and I never really stopped
Mm-hmm.
because I've been rolling ever since I was in 6th grade. So, and then after I graduated high school, I even still kind of participated in club. And I had some local tournaments under my belt, even when I was just some open tournaments, and I got to wrestle some grown men, throw them around and get thrown around, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about kind of volunteering coaching, or doing it for even those little town clubs. What makes you want to coach?
I think wrestling is such a community-based sport, and I think that when you really put it all together, it's something that you take so much from the sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you learn so many values from the sport, and you learn discipline, you learn purpose, you learn just getting better physically, right? You have so many goals and intertwined with the big purpose of what you're trying to accomplish. And so you're just taking so much from that sport, and when you figure it out, you're like, I need to give back.
Yeah.
Right? It's like that, you get that point where it's like, oh, my body can't really keep up with the physical intensity of training, but I really want to give back to the sport in some sort of way. And I think coaching
Mm-hmm.
is just that streamlined way of I have so much knowledge in my head. I have so much experience, and I have so many stories to tell.
Yeah.
And I think that just helps kids. And not only that, it's I just want to make these kids into men, right? And I think wrestling being one of the hardest sports in the world, I think, and there's such kind of a weird thing going on where it's we need to really lean into sports to kind of teach these kids how to be men and just to deal with adversity.
100%.
So you kind of just went into lessons. What do you think the most valuable lesson is in wrestling that you learned?
Winning anyways, baby. We have that. We wear that on the back of our warm-up gear. It's winning anyways. And the biggest lesson with that is we always can't control our circumstances, right? There's a lot of things going on, right? And if we try to control that, it's going to drive us crazy, right? And I think that, but you can control your response. And what I mean by that is if something happens to you, right, and you're just well, that happened, right? But what am I going to do about it, right? I always think about losing a match, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can do you can do a lot of things, but one of the things that a lot of people do early on in their wrestling career is they cry, right? They run away and they kind of isolate themselves and they just beat themselves up. And it's how bad is your pain if you get to do it again?
Yeah.
Right? You get to go right up next to the match and you get to do another match, right? And you get to win that one. And so just controlling your response. And I think for our wrestling team specifically, we do such a good job at that, right? It's not even me saying that, it's in the data, right? We had the most third place finishes in tournaments, right? And third place means that you took a hard loss in the semis, or you took a hard loss early on in the tournament, but you decide you want to just go out there and win and get that third place medal, because first place is out of the question. Second place, right? That's in the finals. But third place, it's you just took a hard loss, you took it on the chin, you're going to go out and win out, right?
Yeah.
So I think third place that's in the data of just winning anyways. And I think that's right. And you can say that for life, right? We always have these life conversations of how'd you do on that test? Oh man, I scored a 55% or a 60%. And I was well, what are you going to do about it? It's well, I got to study more, or I got to communicate to my teacher about, turning them, getting some test corrections in, right? Well, none of that is, I'm going to give up. right? I'm going to just let that be, and I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to get a 60% on the next test because that's what it's okay. No, it's not okay. We need to just keep going, and we need to keep winning anyways.
Yeah.
And winning anyways has nothing to do with winning at all. It's just striving for your goals and, you know, just trying to have that purpose in mind of what do I want to do and the choices you have to make to get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like wrestling under you, you know, it's probably been like 2 of my most favorite years of athletics, you know, through like all the ups and downs. Yeah. But like, you know, it being in like the wrestling room with you like a lot, I always hear you say, you know, like wrestling saved my life, you know, and like you've told that story to me. But I really feel like it'd really help if like you told that to like everybody else here.
Yeah, wrestling did save my life because when I was growing up, right, and my life wasn't the best life. I'm not going to say that it wasn't the worst life either because there's so many kids that walk such like traumatic lives and so many. But my story is that when I was about 13 or 14, I was quite housing insecure. I would never say I was homeless because I always had friends and I always had people to lean on. And so I had to stay on basically on my friend's couch, right? And
Yeah.
anytime that from like 14 on and then by the time I was 16, I found a place that I was secure in and happy with, but that was in Renton, right? But I loved Marysville Getchell so much, and I loved being a Charger so much that I commuted from Renton all the way to Marysville for like half my junior year and my entire senior year.
Yeah.
And so just doing that, and then prior to that, I was waking up at midnight, right? Just on a paper route with my friend, because that was how I kind of paid back to their family for taking me in for, you know, that 6 months.
Yeah.
But anytime that, and I think I learned how to do all of those things to navigate through a hard life like that, was through wrestling, because wrestling is the hardest thing. And any chance that I got, I'd lock myself in a wrestling room because I knew that is the choices. Wrestling is full of choices, right? We always talk about these choices like do this or do that. And I think high school is so important to make the right choice because that will dictate most of your life or the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that when you pair athletics with that, that's always going to be 100% the right choice. Right. If you like just find a sport that you love, right, and you just keep doing that, and that will keep you motivated throughout the entire high school, and it'll give you so many skills. And so when I say wrestling saved my life, it was because if I wasn't, I had so much freedom by the time I was like 14 to do whatever I wanted because nobody was watching, nobody was checking up on me, right? The only people that were checking up on me were the teachers, right? And there's so many teachers even still to this day that still go to this school, right? Like Borgford, Graham Boyce, Mike Sell, Lura, right? Like all those guys and girls, right? Those are the people checking up on me, right? And I think that is just, it really did save my life because if I didn't have wrestling, what would I be doing?
Yeah.
There's so many places where you could go and so many dark places that you could go. But anytime that I was in a wrestling room, I felt at home, right? That was my home. I didn't have like a home to really come back to, but anytime I was in a wrestling room, right, and I was grinding with my boys and I was, you know, getting coached up and just learning something new or just trying to compete.
Yeah.
That's what really saved my life. Not only was just me being there, but me learning from all those experiences as well. And I can carry all those experiences and share my story with everybody else.
It's like a family. You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness, right? I always tell my wrestlers, man, you got 2 chances at family, right? The ones you're born with and the one you create. And if you hit the lottery on both of them, consider yourself lucky. But the one that we're going to create in that wrestling room is going to be so much, it's going to be so much better, and so much just great things are going to happen in that room, and you can lean on them, right? And that's what I had to do, right? And that's what I figured out very early on was the family that I was born with, right, is kind of, you know, kind of broken, kind of just not what isn't the prototypical family, right? And then the family that you create, right? The family that you're a part of, right? It could be a sports family. It could be, you know, a band family. It could be just like your friends, right?
Yeah.
And so that family that you create could be so much more as long as you put in that work, right? And you have a lot of people to lean on. So
Yeah, earlier you were kind of talking about like how like the culture is kind of like changing. Coming off your best season coaching at Getchell so far, what do you notice is changing in like the actual like culture of like the wrestling room?
I would not subscribe to the word change. I would, because when year one, right, I was coaching a bunch of seniors and freshmen, right? The breakdown was like I had 10 seniors my first year and I had 15 freshmen and 5 sophomores and 5 juniors, right? And so just looking down that like tunnel of like, okay, what do I want, right? I have a bunch of seniors that are just like, oh, a new coach, right? How is he going to be? Can I just get through this season, right? And then I got a lot of hungry freshmen on that backside, and I got not very many sophomores and juniors just kind of, just showing up, having fun.
Yeah.
Right. And so we just talked so much about culture, right? We talked about winning anyways so much, right? We talked about winning anyways in life. We talked about winning anyways in wrestling. We talked winning anyways in school, right? But we also had 3 values, right? We had autonomy, mastery, purpose. Autonomy, choosing what we do and how we do it, right? We have these choices, right? Do we make our bed or do we not? Do we brush our teeth or do we not, right? And all these choices will lead to the bigger picture. Or we also have mastery, right? Improving our skills and ourselves every day. If you're not doing that, then why are you doing it? Right? And we always think about, like, why would you start something if you're going to quit?
Yeah.
Why would you start something if you're going to quit? And that kind of really helps people understand mastery because, right, like, I always think of vaping or smoking, right? It's like, why would you start it when you're just going to eventually quit it down 10 years and down the road, right?
Yeah.
It's not mastery. That's not getting you anywhere. But, right, like wrestling, going to school, like, even just kind of hanging out with friends and kind of building that social skill, and right, even that's great.
Yeah.
And then purpose, right? Beginning with the end in mind, right? Like we always talk about looking up and like before a hike, right? Like what's your goal? You want to get to the top. How are you going to get to the top? Well, you're going to be prepared. You're going to bring your water. You're going to, right? You're just going to take one step after the other because that's just the end, right? And so the culture hasn't really changed. I think that people are starting just to buy into it more or just understand what I'm trying to teach more from year one, right? And I think from year one was a lot of just growing pains. And then year 2 was just the pure rebuild year because if you're looking down, right, 10 seniors graduated and I was very fortunate to have a really good senior class when I first got in. And then my second year was more of just like teaching those sophomores, right? And a lot of those sophomores are starting to figure out like what life is because they're getting a lot more freedom, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not one to shut that freedom down. I'm just here to guide them in that choice of like, this is what you do or this is what you can do, right? But this is probably the right choice. And I always like think of it as like a telltale video game, right? Like just pick like X, Y, A, or B, like for your decisions. Right?
Yeah.
As long as you make the right decision, right? And it's when you like just line it out, it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
And as long as you put it towards your purpose, and as long as you put a purpose at the top, right, it becomes so much simpler, right? It's like my purpose is to be the greatest wrestling coach.
Yeah.
Right? Am I going to show up to practice late? Or am I going to show up to practice early?
Yeah.
Well, a late, like that's not modeling anything. That's not going anywhere, right? So if I show up to practice early, right, I'm going to be there for the kids. I'm going to start building relationships early, right? I'm going to talk about how was your day? How was school, right? Just kind of having those player-based discussions. Or like, am I going to make a kid cut 30 pounds? Or am I going to like, obviously illegally you can't do that, but just for exaggeration purposes. Or am I going to work with the kid and just get him, right? And work with him and put him in the best spot, right? And all these things that I do, right, is just, right, towards my goal of being the greatest wrestling coach. And it doesn't, and greatest doesn't mean just winning, but it just means how many people will respect me at the end of the day and how many people will just value my coaching philosophy and how many people can I change? How many people can I impact? Right? And then so we go back to the third year, and the third year is right when we had our, like, kind of our boom, right? We went from 18 kids at the end of the season to, I think, starting off the season at 60.
Yeah.
And then we ended the season with 45. Right? And so 15 kids kind of fell off because, kids are going to figure out like, oh man, this is way too hard. Like, this isn't for me. And that's understandable, right? Like, I expect so much out of these kids. And There's just some times where it's just not for you, but right. And that's when the culture I really started not to change, but just to really kind of seep in, right? And kind of just settle in and settle down. And people, and I had, right, that freshman class, right? They became juniors. So they were growing up, right? And they were just kind of spreading the word, spreading the gospel of like what Charger wrestling is really about. And right. And I got to thank my guys. I got to thank Diaz. I got to thank like Aaron Heck. I got to thank, all those coaches that helped me throughout that way, just kind of cultivate that culture. Because if we even had one guy that wasn't on board with what I was trying to preach and kind of just help coach the kids about culture, I don't think we would have got as far as we got. So just, right. But, and then the fourth year, right, that was kind of the changing the guard, because we got third in league, right. And we had some good pieces come. We had a stellar freshman class that year, and we had a lot of seniors, right. Right. That was from day 1 to year 4, right. That was my first kind of freshman through senior kind of class. Right. And we only had a few of them that were 4-year lettermans, but we had so many kids that got brought in, right. And they were just buying in. And I think the culture is just so much set now that somebody off the street could come in and they could understand what we're about. Yeah. Because everybody's living it. Everybody's on the same page. Right. And then you fast forward to year 5, and that was when the explosion happened of just every piece that I've been trying to put together, the whole puzzle came together. Right. And we went 11-3, 11 wins, 3 losses. And the only time we ever lost as a team to a top 20 in the state. Right. In 3A. And so I think, and that's just nothing, I haven't even spoken about how I teach wrestling or how I'm like, or my philosophy in wrestling. I'm just talking about my philosophy and culture, because the kids will run through a wall for me just because of how much I'm teaching culture and how much I'm teaching about life, right? The wrestling is just a byproduct. The wrestling is just a vehicle of like what we're doing to get to the point of just being better men and just being more outstanding citizens in this world. And I think wrestling is such a great sport for that.
So you was talking about how you wanted to be a great coach or one of the best coaches. And for the time that I did wrestle, you taught me something, and you don't have to rush. You don't have to get to the end point instantly. You know what I mean? And that's one of the best things, and I still use that lesson to this day. And I look forward to, my future now, and I look forward to not rushing. You know what I mean? And that's one of the best things that I've ever learned. So I really appreciate that.
It's, I'm 26, right? And I feel like the things that I've been through and the things, right, I don't take anything very seriously anymore. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't take things seriously, but you should take things with like a grain of just being grateful, right? Taking a moment and taking a step back of like, oh, I'm in this position because of what the decisions that I made and the choices that I got here with. And it's like, I'm 26 with 2 like I've bought and sold a house. I've bought another house, right? But that was just all the choices that I made. And I never felt rushed. I never felt like, right, I just kind of organically happened just because of just thinking about the moment, living in the moment of just, this is the choice I have to make to get to this point, right? And it doesn't matter how long it's going to take, right? And I'm looking at, I'm teaching a bunch of high schoolers, like you looking on social media about all these 20-year-old millionaires, right? That's like a 0.00001% of people, right? And there's going to be just an average, right? And you don't have to be in the average. You can be above, you can be below. But as long as you're happy and as long as you're doing what you want to do and you're at the right place at the right time doing the right things, then who's going to be mad at you?
Exactly. I feel like that's like being below average or being above average. That's the best thing that you could do because you are being yourself.
Like as long as you just find your goals and that's your purpose, right? And this is just kind of my little formula. If you find your purpose and then start, and you have these little goals in between you and your purpose, and you just make every choice towards that little goal. And then you get to that goal and then you make a little better goal, right? And it's just it's just line the choices out, right? Like I went to college, right? And I went to Boise State University, go Broncos, blue turf thinking, baby, right? And what did I have to do to get to college? Well, I had to do a lot of financial aid stuff, right? And that was my little mini goal. And I had to fill out so much paperwork to claim that I was an independent. And that was so annoying, right? But I did that. It's like, okay, now I'm here. Okay, now what do I have to do to pay for college? Well, I have to work full time. Okay, let me go find a job at Fred Meyer, getting paid $8.15 an hour, right? And so that's what I did. I worked 40 hours when I was going to college, right? How did I do that? Just waking up every day and saying, this is what I need to do. And then I did that. And then it was my senior year, right? And I was like, I saw the head coach job opening and I was like, well, I really, really want to do that. Now, how am I going to do that? Well, I just made the choice of, well, I have to take all online classes for my second semester. I still got to work 40 hours a week, right? I transferred to the Fred Meyer. I got a big raise. I got $22 an hour when I moved back to Washington, dude. It was pretty sick.
Yeah.
But it was just those choices of just, was there anything in those choices that I made the wrong choice? Not really, right? It was because I just lined them out. Like, this is what I have to do, and this is what I have to get to that point. Right?
Yeah.
And now I feel so good. I'm so happy. And it's just because of, making those choices that made me feel like something was worth it.
Yeah. So like, just like talking about like the culture and everything, like what do you see more specifically for like next year? But also like the program as like a whole and how it's going to like grow.
I think that we're gonna keep the ball rolling no matter what. I always say big things pop and little things stopping, right? And right, and so we got our team duels at Emmons Woodway, the 28th and the 29th, and so we're gonna just kind of come together as a team. We're gonna show up just ready to roll, and we're gonna try and just do our best with that. And then we also have our in-house camp, our in-house charter camp, starting July 13th, right?
Yeah, and anybody can come to that, right?
Anybody can come to that, man. And it's like,
Pull up.
Yeah, dude, like let's just let's go roll and let's get ready to, and
stop. It looks out of focus there, but if you come up and manually focus on here, you just took it out of focus. So when you switch back, it's going to be out of focus because it's hard to see now. But now it's out of focus. And I saw it right away. I was like, oh, we're going to have to reshoot.
Yeah,
Bad.
I was just trying to edit the first one to make it sound okay where we stopped, and then just record the part about them.
I don't think we can.
Because we're almost out of time.
Well, I could be late.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's fine.
We don't want to chop it. Oh, it won't look good. All right. Do I have all the info off of it? On their shot?
Yeah.
You sure? There's no. Okay, good. All right.
Ready from the top?
from the tippy top.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so like talking about like the culture and stuff, what do you kind of see for like next year, like more like focusing on like next year, but also like as like the program as like a whole over like the next few years of like what like you kind of envision what it's going to like grow into?
I really do think that the balls is going to keep rolling, man. And I think that, I always say big things pop and little things stop. And so, and so, we have our Edmonds Woodway duels, and that's going to be a really good test because how healthy can we stay from the end of the season through the long season? I don't subscribe to an off season. I subscribe to a long season, right?
Yeah.
And so like, can we stay healthy? Can we stay, fit enough to kind of endure like just 10 matches of just straight pure wrestling, right? And then we have our in-house camp July 13th.
Yeah, and anybody can go to that, right?
Oh, heck yeah, man.
Pull up.
Dude, just pull up, right? And it's like, you don't even have to join our team or be like a part of our family, but if you just have the goals of like, I just kind of want to learn how to defend myself in some situations, right? And that's kind of why I started wrestling in 6th grade, was like, I was kind of an undersized 6th grader. I'm still undersized as an adult, man. And so there was this big kid just pushing me into a locker, and I was like, oh, heck no, I'm not doing this no more. Yeah, this ain't happening no more.
Yeah.
If you want to scrap, let's scrap. But so yeah, anybody can join that, man. And, just let me know. And it's through the website. Just get your ticket. And like, I'll be willing to coach anybody. And then, so I think what's after that is that's just a primer for our Centralia Wrestling Camp Center Circle, right? And that's going to be a big test because we're going to be in shape. We're going to have 2 weeks of wrestling under our belt. And we're going to wrestle some of the top teams in the state, Edmonds Woodway, WF West, right? Snohomish, Arlington, and there's some teams out of state I've also seen pull up to that camp. So, and that's going to be a 4-day just nose to the grindstone. Let's go to work, right?
Yeah.
And then looking forward to the season, right? We did take a big loss in the loss of Eusebio. So rest in peace to him, man. And because he was a big part of our plans and a big part of our goals, because he was just such an amazing kid and such an excellent, wrestler. He has the record for most pins in under a minute since I've been head coach. So that's a big loss. But I think the team's going to rally, and I think we're going to just keep rolling with the culture. And because wrestling, dude, we all know how to wrestle, right? We just keep getting in that room. We just keep getting better.
Keep putting in that work.
Yeah, we just keep putting in that work. But as long as kids are just willing to put in that work and just kind of feel it, that they love it, right? And that's my number one goal, man, is just to make kids fall in love with the sport as much as I did.
Yeah. Because
this sport saved my life. And I think as long as we all get behind just falling in love with the sport, everything will just kind of fall into place. And I'm projecting to be, top 2 in the league, right?
Yeah.
Our only challenge is going to be Snohomish because, right, even we're going to get better, obviously, from last year to this year. And we've already dropped, 50 points on all the other teams in the league.
Yeah.
So like that's the kind of the culture that we're building. And that's kind of the amount of wrestlers that we're just kind of, we're just, getting better. Shout out Terry Brandt. So,
yes.
And, with all that summer training that we got is kind of loaded, right? And I'm looking forward to it. And I know the kids are kind of looking forward to it to a degree because they do want their summer and I want to give it to them. But, right, if we have such an amazing culture here. And so I think kids are going to choose wrestling over, a couple weeks of their summer. So, yeah, it's just because that's where the kids want to be. And that's where I'd want to be.
Yeah.
So coming to the end of this, I made a promo video for you guys like mid-season around there. So we're going to end off with that. It was a pleasure having you.
Oh, dude, I want to watch that. I want to watch that video. I've watched that video over and over and over again. It is so amazing. It is just, it embodies what we are, right? It embodies kind of the energy that, I bring. But just all the guys behind me, man, like all of my wrestlers, they're all happy. They're all excited. Just watch their brothers freaking kill it. And even if they lose, man, we're still excited, dude. They're getting on that mat, man, and they're
putting in work.
They're putting in the work, right? And that's what winning anyways is all about. Is like we celebrate the wins, man, but we also celebrate the losses because you went out there and you're going to get another chance. Because I always say, how bad is your pain if you get to do it again?
Yeah.
How you get to do it again. Like you can't be that sad if you get to do it again.
Yeah.
Right. And it's only like when it's your senior year, right? And that's kind of when the pain starts. But you can do it again. Like I went to open tournaments and right, I was not done yet because I had a really sour end of my senior year and so I kind of kept doing it. And then that's when I got into coaching. So even if you feel like you can't do it again, oh my God, there's so many other opportunities to do it again. Right. So, man, I love this team. I love Marysville. I'm not going to go anywhere, man. Like I'm kind of I always joke, like I'm going to coach your grandkids one day. It's like, dude, I don't really want to go anywhere.
We're stuck here.
I've been here for most of my life. So,
yeah.
And, just maybe somewhere on the beach, but I'll take a vacation or two sometime. But
alrighty.
It was great having you.
Oh, it's great. It's great coming on. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
All right.
Fun one.
Yeah. All right. We'll roll the video and then make sure you guys tune in for the next episode of Livewire. Thank you so much.
Peace. Thank you.
What I want to see is you rip this kid's head off. Alright, districts is where we have to pull out all the stops, right? You gotta put all the tricks out of the bag.